Lugs, this Nebraska AD situation, Texas A&M obviously losing Bjork to Ohio State, and then now Trev Alberts, linebacker legend at Nebraska, leaving Nebraska as the athletic director to go to Texas A&M. Doesn't this feel like this person hurt my feelings, so I'm going to hurt somebody else's feelings? Like, we are good enough. Like, people care enough about Texas A&M. We're going to go sign Trev Alberts, the golden boy, the boy walking through the corn from Nebraska. I mean, this is a big deal. They threw the bag at him, and I'll never get mad at somebody for taking the money.
No, listen, it's a big deal, but I think what it's really more reflective not of Texas A&M, but of the stark realities of Nebraska in today's college football landscape. Because let's call this what this is. We can talk all we want about Olympic sports. We can talk about baseball. This is about success in football. And if you guys have listened to myself and Barrett Salih on Channel 84 on SiriusXM, at any time on a Sunday during the season over the last 8 years, you have heard us talk about this multiple times. The Nebraska job is not a good job. It's not. Unfortunately, and I've always said that cable television, the advent of cable television was the worst thing to happen in Nebraska football ever, because it leveled the playing field. You combine that with the reduction in scholarships, you combine that with the additional reduction in limit on walk-ons, and you basically took Nebraska's football program and isolated it and put it in the middle of nowhere where it is currently right now. If you took that program and you lifted it up off of the ground and you carried it over somewhere into the southeast portion of the United States and dumped it anywhere you want, Tupelo, Mississippi, let's just say, all right?
Ooh.
And you dumped it,
Tupelo.
they would be a top five football program. They'd be a top five football program. It's not even close. Guys, we did a study on their recruiting class. I want to say this was years ago, 10 years ago, 2014 class, I think. And if you look at the average miles away from campus of every player that signed in that class, it was over 800 miles.
Yeah.
You can't get kids on campus.
Yeah. Well, Tom, let me ask you this. And I think I agree with you on the premise of it seems like there's a better opportunity to win bigger at A&M just in the current state of things. But A&M hasn't won a lot either. It just are you saying that you think it's the potential of A&M is bigger than Nebraska? That's question one. And then number two, I feel what you're saying. I think, to me, when I look at Nebraska, I think the chances of them being dominant again are very, very slim, which is what they were used to for a long time. I wouldn't necessarily say, I think the landscape of college football now has actually helped them because geography doesn't matter anymore. I mean, you look at NIL money, that's the biggest part of recruiting. Just ask Nick Saban, just went up to D.C. to talk about it, and Nebraska's got a lot of money. I know Texas A&M just took away their AD, but they've got a lot of money. So maybe it's not the dominance that they can attain anymore, but I still think you can win at hell. If you can win at Kansas, you can win at Nebraska still.
Yes.
But, I mean, is A&M, how much of a better job is A&M in your mind than Nebraska? I think that's the true essence of what we're getting to here.
Well, I think significantly in the sense of proximity to athletes. I think that's the part of it.
So that still matters to you? You think that still matters?
It matters to me because you still have to be able, when the recruiting process starts,
to get there. Yeah.
You got to get there.
Yeah.
And if you look at our beautiful United States, and you look at the state of Nebraska, and then you look at all the states that border it, there's no players. Right, so they have to skip over like 2 to 3 states to get anywhere in the country. Now, when you're going to start the recruiting process and that relationship process, recruiting has become so much about getting kids on campus and attending your camps so you can work with them and you can study them and you can evaluate them. How are you supposed to get them there? Unless you're just flat out paying families and paying kids to actually come to your camp, which I guess with the rules now, I guess you could do that if you wanted to, right? So
rules,
but what rules, right?
Yeah.
So I think that if, again, Nebraska has everything you could possibly want when it comes to checking the boxes of what a premier college football program needs to have to be successful, except for where they reside. I still think it matters until proven otherwise.
Hey, Tom, one follow-up on your premise for the downfall of Nebraska. How was Oklahoma able to remain consistently, blue blood status decade over decade, when Norman, Oklahoma isn't that different geographically from Lincoln, Nebraska?
They border on the state of Texas.
And they just go get those players from Texas?
They drive right over the border, or they fly into DFW, or they fly into Houston. It's
kind of like Arkansas, right?
And Michigan, too.
Yeah, kind of like Arkansas.
Without going into
right?
Ohio, to be honest.
Yeah, and Michigan is a huge national recruiter, too. And to be honest with you, Nebraska has always been a national recruiter, but not necessarily by choice, but by necessity.
Yeah.
They don't have a choice, right?
Yeah. All right, let's go to Marcus in Iowa. Marcus, talk to us.
Hey, guys. Good morning. How's it going?
Morning.
Good morning, man. What's up?
Hey, seeing Trev Alberts leave for Texas A&M as a Nebraska fan is like finding out that your girlfriend cheated on you. It just hurts, and it's out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's
tough.
I know the response from Nebraska. What did you think about do you agree with what Luganbill said about Nebraska and kind of them, that their biggest deterrent is where they're at?
Honestly, I wasn't able to catch that part of the show, but, this is a pivotal point in the Nebraska athletic program. Look at where they're at in their sports. They're like number 3 in wrestling. Their women's basketball team made it to the Big Ten championship. You got a huge football season coming up that can win 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 football games. And you got Fred Hoiberg with the men's basketball team. He's the Big Ten Coach of the Year. Look at where Nebraska's at, and we don't have any leadership. Our president went to Ohio State, and now Trev Alberts is gone. This is going to be a huge hire for Nebraska. You can't just throw somebody in there. I know you have to have an interim athletic director, but your next hire is pivotal to your next program. And what this means for Matt Rule and Fred Hoiberg especially, I don't know what their contracts are going to be, but even Trev Alberts was kind of weary on Fred Hoiberg this past season.
And he should have been. He should have been, though. I agree with him being wary on him.
He had every right, but what when Matt Rule came to Nebraska, his big things were he came for the president and Trev Alberts. Well, now they're both gone. So I don't know what that future holds for Matt. If, say, hypothetically, he wins 7 games, is he, I don't want to say the hot seat, but I mean, you take it year-by-year basis, and then that goes into the football stadium renovation. It's like, are they still going to do that? I think that we just need to look at the higher-ups, because I've got a brother who lives in Omaha, and he says that there's kind of been a whole lot of head bashing between Trev Alberts wanting to do such and such, but then the chancellors, they didn't want to do it and kind of holding him back. I don't know if that's true. It's just kind of word of mouth in that area. But, I hate to see it. I wish him all the best. But,
that's
man,
frustrating,
this is a huge loss.
Yeah.
But you got to make this next hire right.
Yeah, you do. Thanks for the call, Marcus. Here's what I'll say. What worries you if you're obviously Hoiberg or you're Matt Rule, it's that you're bringing the new athletic director is not going to be the guy that hired you. So he is not as attached to your success, right? Obviously, he wants you to have success, but he's not as attached to your success. It's kind of like Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, right? Like Sean Payton inherited Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So either way, you're going to look better. If they do well, then hey, you came in and helped bridge the gap and it was fantastic. If they don't do well, I didn't hire these guys. It's not my fault. So that's what you kind of worry about there. What I find interesting is, will Nebraska bring in somebody else that is somewhat homegrown, maybe even from within, or do you go out and do somebody or get somebody that does it a little bit of a different way from a different place? That's what I find.
Well, what hurts the most, man, is this guy was an All-American football player.
Yeah, he's one of yours.
Buck gets
he's one
an
of
award
yours.
winner. Now he goes to another school, like you said, with Tom Luganbill, who also hasn't really won. So it must be coming down to not only just money, but also not being able to get what you want.
Yeah, there's something there.
And this is after you hired Scott Frost.
Yeah.
And that didn't work out either. So,
there's
all right,
there.
Appreciate it, Marcus.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Brian in Nebraska. Brian, what are your thoughts on Trev Alberts?
He's dead to me. They need to pull his name off the stadium, erase every single piece of evidence that Trev Alberts was ever attached to Nebraska in any way.
No.
You know what? I agree with that. What did they do to Benedict Arnold? Get out of here, dog. Like, I'm just telling you, I agree with that.
Really? After what he did as a player?
I do.
What if he never came to be
It's
the AD?
well, then we never have this problem.
But what if it really was about, like, the administration won't give him what he needs to make a successful athletic program?
Well, man, you're Trev Alberts. You're like the water boy. Why don't you run him down in the hallway? It's not like Jim Harbaugh who went to the NFL.
I know.
It's not like Trev Alberts got asked, beamed up to the spaceship. He went to Texas A&M. It's not even. I can understand Ross Bjork going from A&M to Ohio State. I can understand that. Going from Nebraska to A&M, while there is more potential at A&M than Nebraska, I agree with Tom Luganville on that. You're going to spite where you're from, right? It's not like you're going from the suburbs to Versailles. Like, you're going from the suburbs to kind of nicer suburbs.
I don't disagree. And, like, okay, maybe Nebraska did have some leadership issues, but Texas A&M isn't.
That's a great point. That is a great point, Ryan.
So true.
And look at Michigan. They won the football championship this year. They have their leadership issues. It's a bureaucracy like any other university.
True.
There's going to be issues with leadership. So I don't understand. I don't know why he left, but it's a joke.
Yeah.
And, oh, man, it's got me fired up.
Well, thanks for sharing those thoughts, brother. I appreciate it.
I want to know.
For some reason, I just love seeing Nebraska fans mad.
What is your deal?
Because they care. They're passionate.
It's just
you love seeing them mad? Would you love to see them happy?
No.
You're just, but you want Arkansas to win
for Nebraska. Yeah, I like Arkansas.
That's just he's like.
There's something y'all did. There's something y'all did. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to figure it out.
Y'all are better than that.
Yeah.
You're better than
Come
that.
on. Y'all got too much wheat and corn to be the Yankees.
Hey, thanks for calling in. Hey, call back when this new athletic director hire gets made, all right? Appreciate it.
There's YouTube. Hey, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're getting close to 100 trillion. If you haven't subscribed yet, do you really love America or really the world in general? I don't know. Choice is yours.